everybody on hand. I mean, it was still an incredible show. I really hope. I mean, they did say when we were there, Matt, that they were going to, hopefully going to get back to Wembley again. I'm hoping that's going to be the case. I would definitely be up for that again. I think to go and see that, and it made a fan of me. That's for sure. It's very, very seldom I'm like that now, especially for new stuff. I think as you get older, it's very difficult to get into anything new, but that made a fan of me that night, that's for sure. So yeah, good night or good year for live experiences, I think, for myself and Matt. Lots of different varieties. We definitely had a blast going to all of them, especially in and around the show. It's always good because we get to travel out a little bit more, and obviously most of the stuff is in London, but it's we have a good time around it. As always, as wrestling fans, it's kind of cool to see everybody else and see what sort of fans they get. I think it's always fascinating to me what sort of audience members you get at each shows, and are they the same types of fans? And really they're not. They are basically their own separate entities half the time. That's quite interesting. Matt, going into 2019 now, and obviously it's coming up very quickly. Is there anything you think that's hopefully going to stand out? I mean, people have been emailing in about possible Undertaker opponents at WrestleMania. Didn't think we'd still be talking about this still, but Undertaker, WrestleMania. Matt, is there anybody that stands out as a good opponent for the Undertaker that makes sense? And because I don't know. I still don't think this is his last one. I don't know when that'll ever be, but I still got a feeling this just never gonna. I think with this Saudi Arabia thing happening all the time, I'm not sure that he really would need to. Maybe he can afford to do three or four big matches a year, and that might work for him. What do you think, Matt? Is there anybody that stands out as a realistic and worthwhile opponent for the Undertaker this year?
Oh yeah, this is getting into difficult ground now, because for years we were talking about we want to see this from Undertaker, Sting, we want to see John Cena, and all this stuff we was talking about, and then we was kind of sad about it because we thought this would be the last we've seen Undertaker. But now I think we've crossed a line to a point where there's no one left for Undertaker, and I don't want to see Undertaker wrestle at WrestleMania. I mean, I know it sounds harsh, but I love all of his WrestleMania matches, and I definitely respect the guy. It's just I can see the toll it's taken on his body now, and he definitely moves a hell of a lot slower, and his in-ring work will never be what it used to be. And I would have just rather that he ended it on top, and like he did against Roman. I like that. I like that ending with the clothes was left there.
Yeah, well, that was it.
And does feel squandered now, so there's no one I really want to see him fight. I think that all those best matches have been had, and if he was to face someone that he hadn't fought, like just for instance Seth Rollins, I think he would not be able to keep pace with Seth. It would be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, you don't want to see John Cena again then?
No. I feel like they just rushed that out, and I think if they wanted to do that on that night, they squandered that opportunity as well. No one wants to see that rematch, surely.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's nobody I can really think of. The only thing I'll say is if he is involved in a match, I hope that it's the sort of match that it shouldn't be scheduled for long, and it should be more of a gimmick type thing. It shouldn't be anything more than that. I think you put too much pressure on somebody like The Undertaker at his age to be doing a top 4 match. It should be a match it's there, but somebody's going to work around him, as opposed to the other way round. I really don't think they need to go to lengths now where they're putting The Undertaker in high profile matches that just have too much expectation on them. Because at The Undertaker's age and everything else, I think it's of course, we're both Undertaker fans. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we were as emotional as anybody the year with Roman Reigns, I can tell you. We were talking about months and months after, but I think nowadays, if he has to be there, if he still wants to be involved, it's not my place to say when his time isn't or whatever, but I just hope they do it in a way where there's not too much expectation on it, and it only helps somebody else. I think The Undertaker's all for that as well. He's not somebody that you kind of put towards a guy that won't do a job or won't put anybody over. I think as long as it sort of makes sense with him, because he's very old school as well, I think he's for it. But hopefully that's what they do. They don't waste an opportunity there. I guess somebody else that always seems to get matches now, Matt, is our old friend Shane McMahon. I'm guessing we both would probably... Well, in fact, I'll take it all back what I just said there. I'd rather see an Undertaker Iron Man match than I would a Shane McMahon match at the minute. But Shane McMahon, Matt, he's becoming somewhat of a WrestleMania feature every year now. And I know he doesn't... people will say, well, he doesn't win. I know he doesn't win, but come on. He's faced The Undertaker. He's faced AJ Styles. I mean... These names, Matt, they're huge names that are coming out left, right and centre. And, last year you had the whole thing with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Him and Daniel Bryan teamed up together. Where do we go now with Shane McMahon? Because I almost feel like they have to do it now. It's like become another part of, the WrestleMania DNA all of a sudden.
He's now gunning for tag team titles, isn't it? The Miz. I feel like for me though, if this is going to be a story and going to be a route they want to go down, I don't want them to win the titles. If anything, I think it should be used as a tool to convert Miz into a face character. I feel like maybe their tag team won't work out, and then maybe they should have a little bit of a feud between the two of them. I mean, that might work out. It's something different at least, and it's not exactly Shane putting himself on the pedestal fighting the top of the top. But if the Miz was to change his character, I feel that would be a good move for him, because people have seen enough of that guy now, and they know just how hard the guy works. They know what dedicated family guy that he is. There's a lot of things to like about the Miz, and I know he's fun person to hate. People definitely respect him, and they know just how much of an asset he is to the company.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. I mean, we always say the same old one, don't we, Matt? Brings us back to having Shane versus Triple H. I still think is the only one. In fact, it's probably the only match I want to see them both in. I mean, even Triple H now, I'm kind of like, he's probably lost for opponents these days as well. And I know it's all right if it's somebody up and coming. I remember he had that match with Sheamus that time, and I quite enjoyed that because it's like somebody new coming along. But again, I think it's got to be the right opponent. I don't really like the matches where it was with Sting and they're two guys just doing it for nostalgic reasons and all the rest of it. But I think Shane McMahon... I mean, I was really hoping, of course, and hope being the main word here, that when we saw Vince come out and we saw Triple H come out, that when Shane come out, there was going to be a bit of a conflict between them. But, of course, we didn't get that, and it turned into what it turned into. But that would be... I would be really interested in that as a rivalry. I mean, I don't know what the match would be like, but it wouldn't be terrible, I'm sure, between Shane and Triple H. I'm sure they'd give you some sort of entertainment. But just that whole... it could really use a lot of real things, Matt. You could really throw a curveball at what's real and what isn't, and talk about how Triple H has got up the food chain when Shane wasn't around, and Triple H's ethics and Shane's philosophies, whatever you want to do. They could have really bought into that, Matt. I mean, to the point where actually maybe one of them could have chose a tag team partner. Maybe Triple H could have had one of his NXT rising stars, or maybe Shane goes with one of his SmackDowns. Who knows? But they could have done something there, Matt, that would have made some more sense. And I know it's something that every fan, especially old school fans like us, they would be interested in seeing that week to week play out on TV. They would like to see those sort of, those sort of segments between them, what each other will say to each other, and all the little backhanders to one another and stuff like that. And of course, then you play Vince in the middle, and you've got Stephanie in amongst it as well. It's great TV, but they don't seem to want to be interested in that at the minute, Matt. Why do you think that is? Because it seems so blatantly obvious to me to go with that, but they really don't. Is it the case, Matt, where it's maybe a little bit too real for them, and they're being careful about being just united, or
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far to say it's too real. I mean, after what we've seen from them this year, what they're willing to do, what they're willing to say, I mean, the stuff they did with Roman was shameless, and even now, like we're seeing this storyline play out with Samoa Joe, and Samoa's just talking about how Jeff does drugs and he's addicted to drinking and all that stuff, and that's another angle that's just too real.
Yeah.
If anything, it's almost like you think Vince has had a little conversation with him and goes, right guys, like when I'm dead, this is going to be a great storyline. You know, you have the funeral and then you fight afterwards. You fight over the company. It's almost like he's waiting for that moment. He's like, that will sell. So even when I'm gone, I know there'll be a great storyline out of it.
Yeah. It's shameful kind of stuff that they do. I would say that's probably the most distasteful thing they've done all year, that using Roman Reigns in that storyline. I don't, you know, all right, maybe Dean and Seth asked him and all the rest of it, but WWE, man, where is the cut-off point? But then, as Jimbo pointed out after we did that podcast, Matt, he actually said, well, it's not the first time. They did it with Eddie's death. And I remember that as well, where Randy Orton was using it with Rey Mysterio, saying, you know, he was the reason and he deserved to and all the rest of it. And that was like not even like 4 months after. So, you know, there are no limits sometimes to WWE's lows in this day and age. But, you know, honestly, you think to yourself in this PG era that they wouldn't, but they do. And, yeah, I think you're right. I think that, you know, they could do it easily. I don't know why they don't do it, but yeah, it's one of those myths, I guess. Matt, as far as Royal Rumble, that's the next pay-per-view coming up. Is there anybody that's coming out at you and you say that's the guy I've penciled in and there's a reason for it, or is it still very much up in the air for you?
Oh, you know, it's a tough call. I've narrowed it down to 3 people who I'd like to see win. It's very tough to point out one out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say my 3 would be, I'll probably order them, like probably my 3rd place I'd like AJ Styles, probably 2nd Drew McIntyre, probably number 1 I feel like someone that needs it is Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like build a superstar out of the guy, you know. There's so many guys like Triple H like that they come out now and say, I've done everything that there was to do in the company. You know, Seth hasn't won a Royal Rumble. That's another thing to put in his list of achievements, and I think like he needs it. And especially after the year he's had, he's been consistent. He's been entertaining to watch. So I feel like, you know, put him back on top for once.
Yeah. For me, I mean, who I would like to see, I would, a couple of weeks ago, and I said this in one of my mini podcasts, I said I'd really behind Drew McIntyre, but now I'm not. And the reason is because they are doing a terrible job with him, of not protecting him enough. And I feel like now they've already split, they've done the split, and I didn't want that. I don't know why they have to keep doing that either. You know, so I wanted it where Drew was going to go in as the heel, and, you know, he would be with sort of Dolph and all the rest of it. And I said that the only time they should turn him is on the night during the match. But as soon as you put a guy in the middle and you instantly know that WWE want to back that guy, that's when it goes wrong. That's when the fans spit him out again. So I'm totally against that now. So I've changed my opinion now, and I actually, although he probably, you know, I know he's favourite still with a lot of the bookies, but for me, the Royal Rumble winner used to be about somebody like like we saw last year with Shinsuke Nakamura. I used to like seeing somebody come out of nowhere, but nowadays I think to myself, what's the point? Because they don't even, I would like to see Seth Rollins as well, but then again, is there much point to it? Because unless he ends up finalising it and doing something really decent at the end, then it's kind of all lost anyway. And I'm sure Shinsuke Nakamura's Royal Rumble win will be forgotten, soon after anyway. So for me, I think I've always wanted to see the last John Cena. I wouldn't have a problem with him winning another one personally. I know that's going to be a bit controversial because he's somebody that's been around and probably is the least person that needs a Royal Rumble win. But in terms of a story and trying to dethrone Ric Flair's record and possibly being his last big run, I would put him there. I would like to see that play out towards a WrestleMania. The other people, I don't know. I mean,